What is up, Wolfpack? Today we're going to be covering the ultimate hurricane preparedness kit, giving you access to everything you need to prepare for a Category 3, Category 4, or even a Category 5 hurricane. Stick around to the end of the video because we're also going to be giving away a brand new SC4, the ultimate survival knife. It's the perfect combination of beefiness with a 1/4 inch of 1095 steel, but you get that finger trail, so you get an opportunity to get feather stickings and fire sticks right off the bat. So if you wanted to do a little bit of bushcrafting, we've already given away 3 of these, one to Dan, one to Jeff, and the last one to Travis. We're about to give away our 4th one, but stick around to the end of the video. We're going to be showing you how you'll be able to win one of these of your own. So today's video is going to be talking about hurricane preparedness. Myself, having lived in South Florida, I myself have lived through multiple hurricanes, including a couple Category 5s, one of which has put me out of power for 3+ weeks. And so I know what it's like to live through a hurricane. I know how annoying it can be, and I know how uncertain it can be. And so we're going to walk you through a couple different scenarios to help you get prepared for the hurricane. In no particular order, we're going to go left to right and kind of walk you through a couple of the things that you're going to need prepping for a hurricane in general. The first thing you want to do, and this is sort of representing 2x4s. So 2x4s, plywood, shutters if you can afford it. One of the first things you want to do is just make sure that all of the windows in your house are boarded up. You know, with hurricanes kicking up those high-speed winds, the last thing that you want is a branch or debris come barreling through your window and really compromising the integrity of your roof. Because what ends up happening is, with the windows being compromised, the air from the hurricane gets inside the house and will actually rip the roof off like a can opener. And so with you being able to put some plywood directly onto all of your windows, or even better, to be honest, if you can afford it, shutters, especially those accordion style shutters, or the ones where you're able to, with one hand, open and close them, is phenomenal. I know that sometimes people will cheap out and get those metal ones, but then you're going to be outside, you know, when you should be doing other things, spending a few hours getting those things going, and they cut up your hand. It's a lot of extra work. And so if you can afford it, get some shutters. But if not, you should have enough plywood and 2x4s to really cover up all your windows and really protect them if possible. On that note, you should have some, just personal protection. I love these. These are the Mechanics leather impact gloves. These are great. This is my backup pair. My other one's getting a lot of work done in the garage. But as you can see here, you're holding plywood. You got splinters. If you're holding those metal shutters, you've got a lot of just potential to cut your hands, and you want to make sure that you are in 100% good health leading into a hurricane. And so between the plywood and the gloves, you want to make sure that you're well prepared in order to shutter up all of your windows. On that note, you also want to make sure that your power tools are all topped off and ready to go. You want to, at the very minimum, get yourself a Ryobi. If possible, go up to a DeWalt or a Milwaukee or a Makita, making sure that everything's topped up, so that way you can be drilling that wood directly into the windows and keep everything sort of topped off and taken care of. The next component that you want to make sure is making sure that you have enough duct tape, and just duct tape in general, duct tape and 3mm or 6mm screening, so that way you could tape off any potential windows that do break and make sure that the no rain is sort of coming through, and you're able to sort of take care of any of the windows that get compromised. And so that's sort of like what you want to do to make sure that you can prepare in advance to make sure that your house is well taken care of, and that you're able to make sure that none of the windows get compromised. On that note, stock up on a couple of these sandbags. I think they take up no room at all and allows you to use just dirt from around your house, filling it up and stick it in any of the low points around your house. So that could include around the garage, around your back door, anywhere where you're worried that water may surge and rise up. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and because he's at the bottom of the hill, the water actually ended up going underneath the house and pushing so much pressure through the house that it actually started coming out of his electrical ports. So sandbags will at least allow you to divert some of that water flow, and instead of going directly into your house, it'll actually be able to sort of be siphoned off, similar to a French drain. And so having these, just a handful of sandbags, is a little bit indispensable. Additionally, these could also operate as sandbags. These 3mm, 6mm, 5mm contractor bags, they are very heavy duty, and you can fill them up with sand and dirt and allow you to create a perimeter around the house, but also for hygiene after the event is over. You want to, sometimes plumbing can be out and your toilets may not be working. And so making sure that, you're not just taking care of the drainage in your house, but you're also taking care of your hygiene after the fact and after the event. I've also heard, and there was this one guy, and in fact, you can look up the news story, and if you're interested, let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to go and look for it. But there's this donut. It's actually a giant rubber donut that you fill with water. And what he did was he created a perimeter around his house with this giant rubber donut. And while his entire neighborhood was flooded, he was the one house that was spared. Now, granted, it's like $10,000, but if you think about the amount of, even with flood insurance, the amount of time you're spending in a hotel, the amount of time it takes to get rid of the mold and redo your plywood, and redo the drywall in your house. It's a huge expense, but for the peace of mind for him, he was looking like a genius after that. And so if you're interested, let me know and I'll look for that story as well as a link to that stuff. It's obviously super expensive. And so in the meantime, some sandbags or contractor bags, they're maybe less than $1 each, could end up serving you pretty well. The other thing, we're going to talk a little bit about rubber boots, particularly insulated rubber boots. A lot of people don't know this, but many of the deaths that happen in hurricanes actually happen after the hurricane is over. The storm has passed, everything is sort of starting to settle down back to normal, and what ends up happening is people will step outside to sort of assess the damage. But what you don't realize is immediately after the hurricane is when things are the most dangerous. And so this is really critical, Wolfpack. You want to make sure that you're really taking care of your family, make sure that you're staying indoors, because what ends up happening is with down power lines and water flooding everywhere, you are essentially stepping into an electrified field. And a lot of the deaths that happen occur from people stepping outside after the storm has passed and getting electrocuted. Or even worse, they see a down power line and they go down and they pick it up, and obviously you can imagine what happens. Do not get in that situation. Stay indoors, find out what's going on with authorities, and make sure that all of the electrical fields in the area have been turned off and that it is safe to exit your home. Having said that, even when it's safe, you still want to be quadruple careful. And so finding, this isn't 100% bulletproof, but it'll definitely protect you, or at least minimize some of the electrical shock that could come your way. And so getting yourself a proper pair of insulated rubber boots will be helpful. And in fact, every house should have a good pair of insulated rubber boots in general, help protect you around the house if you got snakes and all kinds of goodies that want to attack you as you're walking your property line. As you're clearing debris, you've got the battery operated Black & Decker chainsaw up there. You've got the incredible Baco Laplander. And so as you're trying to clear some fallen debris and tree lines, this is a phenomenal just handheld blade. I take this camping and hiking with me all the time. I think everyone should own one of these. The Baco Laplanders are phenomenal. I have a video on this. But if you wanted to start piling through, there's nothing like a small chainsaw. And so, this is a battery operated one. I've also got a gas powered steel. Just being able to go in there and clear out any of the fallen tree lines, any of the trees that are on the road. And so you're able to make sure that, hey, like your property line is clear and that there's no debris sort of falling on your roof. You want to be wearing proper eye protection when you're doing that. There's whole videos on proper chainsaw safety, as well as wearing a lot of the protective straps. One of the most dangerous things that people will do, they'll be holding this or they'll be cutting something above them, and the chainsaw will kick and come down and hit them right in the femoral artery, right in their leg. So if you're having a chainsaw, make sure you have your tourniquet nearby while you're using it, because the last thing you want to do is be bleeding out on your property. Gerber LMF. This is maybe the only time that I would recommend the Gerber LMF. This knife was designed, number one, as not a full tang knife. it actually cuts off right here. But the reason for that, it was actually designed as an egress knife for pilots to, number one, be able to escape from their cockpit, but then number two, to be able to cut electrical lines without electrocuting themselves. And so this is one of the only times where it probably makes sense for a Gerber, the Gerber LMF. But don't be stupid. Don't be cutting any power lines. I just wanted to sort of bring. I mean, this is one of my first knives that I ever bought. It rarely leaves my gear room anymore. But I just wanted to bring it out to sort of walk through one of the potential use cases of the Gerber LMF. I liked it when I was younger because it has the built-in sharpener, and so you can be field sharpening it. Now I know, like, hey, like these partially serrated blades, they're just not as useful when you're bushcrafting and setting up a fire and getting feather sticks. But brought it out just to kind of walk through, hey, this is one potential use case that might make sense. You can see here that we've got some hand sanitizer. With the power going out, your plumbing going out, you don't know if the water has been compromised. And so you may not be, you may end up having a lot of impurities in your water. And so you want to make sure that you have enough hygiene, whether you've got hand sanitizer, which I know is scarce now, but I just saw some Germex go live on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description to that as well. So, stocking up on hand sanitizer so you don't have to rely on water lines. This stuff, white gold, hand sanitizer, flushable wipes, the ability to not have to rely on running plumbing in order to take care of yourself. And then we already talked about the contractor bags and the ability to stay clean and hygiene and keeping your biodegradable waste away from the rest of the house and staying safe from a monetary, from a health related standpoint. Some people are going to look at the wine bottle and they're going to be like, hey, why wine? Well, after you've lived through a couple of hurricanes, people actually end up, stop taking them so seriously. They end up throwing hurricane parties. I'm one that's not probably I want to stay sober during an emergency like that. But hey, if you wanted to, stocking up on alcohol and being able to drink through the hurricane, why not? I think you should stay semi-sober as you're going through it, but it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of a hurricane party. A lot of times, in South Florida, people would end up going over to each other's houses and sort of living through the hurricane together, which isn't a bad thing. I think like it definitely helps to have friends and family nearby, and sometimes they'll throw a hurricane party with wine and alcohol. Also, you've got fire extinguisher. The last thing you want to do is you want to see sort of one of the hurricane causing a local fire and you being unable to put it out. This is a small one that's mainly designed for grease fires around the stove. But if you have a full-size ABC fire extinguisher, that'll be able to do that. Now, after the event, there may not be power, and so you want to make sure that you've got plenty of torch. You want to make sure you have plenty of light here. You've got a spotlight here. You've got a headlamp. And then one of my favorites is the Wow Tack from Black Scout Survival. They just came out with version 4. This is version 3. It's 1,000 lumens with a crenulated bezel. I love this thing. This thing is one of my favorite, just every day. I use this almost every day when I'm walking the dog. But in addition to that, you want to also make sure you've got some crank powered lights. The last thing you want to do is have battery anxiety and be worried about not having any power and any lights. And so I have a couple different options here. This is the eSky. What I like about this is it also has a radio. Let's be real, this solar power is going to be absolute garbage, but you can at least crank it and get a little bit of juice. And then also, this is probably one of my favorite ones, which is the Goal Zero. It's got, not only does it have the flashlight at the bottom, but it's also got a torch light. And so this can illuminate an entire room. And so you can have a floodlight. You can put this on a tabletop, or even if you wanted to, you can hang this from somewhere and illuminate the entire room. And then you've also got a USB cable up top, so you could be charging some of your devices. So that is, having that crank powered allows you to make sure that you're being taken care of from a torch perspective. In addition to that, you want to take care of comms. Sometimes with the power lines being out, sometimes the phone lines are out. And so with something like these arc shells, which are super cheap, we've got about 6 of these on in the house. We can hand them out to friends and family and stay connected by being all on the same line without having to worry about text message and text units. And they're all super easy to charge.
Power on. 11.
So we're going to be all on line 11, and now we can stay connected with the friends and family near the house. And so getting yourself a couple of these will allow you to, number one, you don't need a license the way you do with ham radios, which are great too. I have a couple of those as well, but with these walkie-talkies, it allows you to stay connected nearby with the friends and family and the compound. Additionally, if a hurricane class 5 is coming your way, it might make sense for you, if you're in a hurricane hotspot, to have a little bit of cash stocked away for a hotel. This is one of the few situations that I would recommend potentially bugging out. Having lived through a class 5, honestly, even a class 3 is nothing to sneeze at. Let me tell you guys, this stuff is serious. It is not fun. It is not scary. I remember one that was it was a class 2. It ended up hitting us. It ended up staying right in our area and actually accelerated to a class 3 for a lot. Like normally these hurricanes last less than an hour, maybe 2 hours, depending on the bands. This one, I believe, if my memory serves me right, stayed with us for longer than 24 hours. And so the amount of rain that was collecting in one area, like it was a disaster zone. And honestly, if hindsight, I wish I would have just bugged out. I wish I would have had enough money. I was a lot younger. I wasn't in enough financial position that I am today. If I had the money today, I would get out of the hurricane's path, go to a hotel and stay there until I knew that the coast was clear and safe to come and return, because power was out. It wasn't fun. You weren't able to leave the house. Gasoline was hard to come by. That's something that's not on here. Make sure you're stocking up on your gasoline. That stuff goes super quick. I've already got more than 6 months worth of gasoline stowed away. But making sure that it's better to just get out of town. Make sure that you've got your house boarded up. Make sure you have your cameras all charged up. But then if you can, get out of there and not have to worry about it. And so having that money stocked away. But if you do have to stay, we're going to continue to walk through some of the stuff that is on here. Additionally, if you're out of power, make sure you've got enough games and toys and books to be able to read and go through and actually be entertained, because who knows how long the power will be out. And the last thing you want, particularly if you've got young kids, is for them to be freaking out because they don't have their Fortnite and all of their electronics and fun stuff. Additionally, have enough propane as well as the propane stoves to be able to cook your food and take care of it. We've got a couple other videos on the channel kind of walking you through some cooking options, including the jet boil, which is one of my favorites. And so just consider this an extended camping trip. Make sure you've got everything ready to go, so that way you have all that stuff taken care of. You also want to make sure you got enough masks. If there's a lot of debris and potentially even fires, you want to make sure that you are not inhaling some of that smoke. And so not only do you want to have your goggles to take care of while you're cutting down limbs, but you want to make sure you got enough masks. We're currently going through the coronavirus situation. You want to have all of that stuff squared away. The next thing, making sure you have enough dog food. We've got some pups in the house, and we want to make sure you have enough dog food stocked away, and also just canned food in general and food that you don't really need to cook. Make sure you also have a can opener, and also have your backups. We've talked a little bit about this. These P38s and P51s, they're like $1 a piece. Get yourself a couple packs, and now you make sure that despite all of your cans, you can open them up. The last thing you want to do is have 100 cans and not a single can opener that can work. And so having these stocked away is a great backup piece to take care of yourself. And so cans, can openers, dog food, all of that stuff is all stocked up. But also make sure you've got your own food. This is the Mountain House Classic Bucket. It's good for just peace of mind. It's the one thing that you can end up just buying. You've got 12 meals in there, which is enough for 3 days per person. We've got one of these for all the members in the family. We also have the Augustin Farms 30-day buckets, which I think is probably maybe a better buy. Look at my videos for those. But if you for 3 days, that's really all you need. That's what FEMA recommends. You've got that taken care of. And then also making sure you've got enough water. People tell you, hey, let's do 1 gallon per person per day. I think that's the bare minimum. That's assuming just drinking water, not to mention hygiene water. And so making sure you have enough emergency water. We've got a couple of those 55-gallon blue tanks on the house. And so water is plenty. They also have those water bobs, and so you can fill up your bathtubs. We used to do that all the time. Fill up the bathtubs, make sure you've got plenty of water. You can always scoop those and put them into the toilet for plumbing in certain situations. And so having plenty of water will allow you to make sure that, hey, you're not drinking filthy plumbing water because some of those things were compromised. If you're in a hurricane path, chances are you are also, it tends to be around like late summer, you're also probably in a humid climate. Let me tell you, there is nothing worse than sleeping with no air conditioning. And so having a couple of these incredible battery operated fans, it allows you to make sure that, hey, at least you've got a cool breeze blowing on your face so you can go to sleep calmly. I did not have these when I was out of power. Let me tell you, after 3 weeks with 100-degree nights, dealing with that hot weather, it was almost impossible to sleep. You're sleeping in a pile of sweat. You start to feel and go crazy. And just having a simple battery operated fan with some backup batteries, not only for your torches but also for those fans, I would recommend some Energizer rechargeable batteries, so that way you're always stocked up and ready to go. Is just a great way to make sure you don't having any battery anxiety. In addition to that, why not have a couple? I believe these are 12-hour candles. You can light up a couple of these around the house and make sure that you've got all the entire house illuminated, and so you're not relying so much on battery, but you can rely on some of your candles. They're super cheap and you can get a ton of them, particularly those tea light candles. I'll put a couple links to those, the ones that I recommend. I think I have a couple that are 12-hour ones. First aid kits. You got to assume that there's something's going to go down. You got to assume that people are going to be injured, that there is as you're clearing brush around the house, that they're going to be like, hopefully just, cuts and bruises. But getting yourself a good, solid first aid kit, in addition to the tourniquet and all the other trauma-related items, you want to make sure that you've got solid first aid kit. You've got all of those things taken care of, gauze and all of that, those other fun things. So first aid is important. And as you can see, that was hiding the Jackery. This is, if you have this, you are the king of the block. This allows you to power your fridge. It allows you to power your AC, power your water heater. And this paired with a solar panel is really all you need. You've got power forever. And so getting yourself a good solar generator. We also have a good solid gas generator. And why not even an inverter? An inverter will allow you to plug into your car and get, essentially turn your car into a generator. And so getting this, your solar panels and also your gas cans will make sure that you've got more than enough juice and enough power in addition to the propane, so that way you can go through any situation. Addition to that, you also want to make sure you've got the power tools necessary in order to turn off your water lines. And so this is representative of a water line wrench. If you've never turned off your water line wrench, this is a perfect opportunity to go and put that on your list for this weekend, is to go and practice actually turning off your gas line, your water line. Well, maybe not your gas line. You might have to call your local authorities, because that could be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. But particularly your water line, you don't want those things flooding your house from the inside out. And so go and take care of that stuff. In addition to that, you want to make sure that your security is taken care of. Having yourself cameras set up around the house. If you do end up bugging out, you want to be able to hopefully monitor your situation after you leave the house and be like, hey, is the coast clear? Can I come back? Assuming you haven't lost power. If you did lose power, having some security perimeters around the house. As after we saw Hurricane Katrina, there was a lot of looting. And so this is like a guard line sensor, which is a battery operated sensor. And so in addition to all of my cameras, I have something that can work even when the grid is down. And so this will alert me to anyone that enters and steps onto the property. And so getting yourself a couple guard line sensors, as well as watching my video on the layered approach to security, will make sure that you are not a victim of looting after a massive hurricane, when police are hard to come by and firefighters are hard to come by, and you can't even call 911 because the phone lines are down. And so making sure that you can watch that video on my layered perimeter self-defense security. It's it'll help you walk through some of that perimeter self-defense, but at least having yourself something that doesn't rely on power in order to protect your house. And so that's pretty much it. You kind of walk through the entire array. You've got food, water. I mean, it's basically all of the essentials: food, water, electricity, protection around the house. the 2x4s and the plywood, and if you can afford it, the shutters, your hygiene components, your ability to clear brush after the fact, an emergency radio so you can find out what's going on. All of these things will allow you to make sure that if you are, the first time going through your own hurricane, that you are better prepared. And if it's, if you're a hurricane veteran, then, maybe this helped spark some potential gaps in your overall list and making sure that you've got everything covered. And so I hope this video was helpful. I hope that it allowed you to maybe think through, if you're approaching a hurricane season, what gaps do I have in my overall kit? So that way I can go out there and make sure that my family is better prepared. All right, so with that, we did want to go through the giveaway and how you can win yourself a brand new SE4. So we've already given away a bunch of these. So we are currently at 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much to the community. I wouldn't have been able to grow as fast as I have without you. Number one, I really appreciate all the support and the thumbs up. I mean, you guys are making my dreams come true, so thank you so much. Number two, thank you so much for all of the incredible comments. The comments below are really what make the YouTube community what it is, and I often learn more from the comments from some of the videos that I watch than the videos themselves. And so I love how much expertise the community is adding to the overall community. And so thank you so much. So the great news is, in order to enter the giveaway, we're going to be giving this out this is going to be a 2,000 subscriber giveaway. So once we hit 2,000 subscribers, we'll be giving away a brand new SE4. It's the perfect survival knife. It's my favorite survival knife. It is the perfect mix between an everyday carry. It's not too overbuilt like the Gerber LMF, which I think is a little too heavy. It's enough for batoning, but it's also enough for bushcraft work. And so we'll be giving that out once we hit 2,000 subscribers. In order to enter, all you have to do is subscribe and leave a comment. That's it. On any video, you subscribe and leave a comment, and you are instantly entered for the 2,000 subscriber giveaway for this particular knife. In addition to that, why not turn on notifications so you are aware once we hit 2,000 subscribers, you'll be aware about the actual giveaway. And then also, if you found this helpful, I've spent a couple hours putting this video together. If you found it helpful, give me a thumbs up. It really helps with the algorithm so we can hit that 2,000 subscribers sooner. And then number two, it allows us to, really that's it. It allows us to just get to grow faster, so that way we can give away more knives faster and get it to the community. So really appreciate it. So in order to enter, you just gotta subscribe, leave a comment. Once again, thank you to everyone that has left comments historically. You're the reason that this channel has grown so fast and is what it is. And so thank you so much to the community. Really looking forward to it. I hope this video was helpful and looking forward to it. Stay safe, everyone. Cheers.